My wife and her best friend accused me of having an affair, then got angry when I didn't have one. I 31 male and my wife 29 female had a baby last December. It was a traumatic birth and my wife developed postpartum depression. While she was originally going to go back to work after the birth, she's been struggling enough that we decided to wait until our daughter was a year old and reassess. She has been going to therapy weekly, with my wife home full time. I've had to work increased hours. This is something we discussed prior to making this decision and she knew this from the start. A few weeks ago, my boss approached me about a project that would require a lot of overtime in a short amount of time. It would both be great financially and for my career. I talked to my wife about it and she agreed that I should say yes to my boss. For the 4 weeks I'd be working on this, my mother-in-law and her best friend, Jessie 29 female name changed, would come help out with some of the duties that I typically do. Jessie is a Psalm with a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. She began coming over during the day and would watch the kids with my wife. 3 weeks into the project, it became clear that we'd need a few more weeks to get it together. I went home that night and talked to my wife about it. She said she was okay with it, but got very cold in the days after. It wasn't unusual behavior over the past few months, so I didn't think much about it and tried not to take it personally. During the last week of the project, I got home one night and saw that Jessie was still at the house. I didn't think much about it, said hi to her and my wife, and then went to go check on our daughter. Before I could get to her room, I heard Jessie say something along the lines of, "He doesn't even stop to greet you. Definitely a sign." I turned around and asked what it was a sign of. Immediately, my wife started crying and Jessie started accusing me of having an affair. She told me that I must hate my wife because she has PPD and am not attracted to her because she gained weight from the pregnancy. Neither of these things are true. I am trying my best to help my wife through her PPD while supporting our family. And I think she looks great how she is right now. She just hasn't wanted to have 10 and 1 haven't pushed. Jessie then demanded to see my phone. I told her no. She told me that's a sign that I am guilty. I told my wife that I would let her see my phone if she wanted to. She nodded and something inside me broke. I guess it was the thought that she actually believed I was having an affair really got to me. And that she didn't trust me after everything we've been through. Well, she looked through the phone and there was no evidence. Jessie started saying that I deleted the evidence. She started screaming and woke up our daughter. So I told her to get out of the house. Eventually, she left and I went to calm our daughter since my wife was still on the couch crying. When my daughter was asleep again, I sat down by my wife and tried to talk to her about what's been happening. She told me that she's been worried ever since I started working all the overtime. I told her that we'd talked about how good of an opportunity it was and she agreed to letting me take on this project. She said it was very suspicious to increase the length of the project. I told her that sometimes that happens. She wanted more evidence. So I showed her messages and emails with timestamps from work and pay stubs showing the yacht. She said she believed me and was sorry for doubting me. It was just that Jessie had been telling her that these were all signs that I was cheating. I asked her why she believed Jessie more than me, and why she didn't come to me with her concerns. She didn't have a real answer. It's been a couple weeks and the project is over. I actually scaled back and am trying to work a little less than I was before the project so I can spend more time with my wife and daughter. But I feel so burned out trying to do everything and becoming resentful because in the back of my mind, I know that my wife doesn't trust me. I ask myself, what happens the next time I have a project? Or I have to run errands one day? Or if I have a business trip? Am I going to come back every time to accusations that I am cheating? I've tried bringing it up a couple times but my wife tells me it's not the time and that she's tired or sad. I try to be mindful of her feelings but I wonder if that means that I can never have any of my own. I am not sure what to do here. Any advice for how I can move forward? You need couples therapy and to ditch Jessie. Yeah, sounds like Jessie's projecting some mess onto your wife. Tell Jessie to go deal with her own issues and leave you two alone. Jessie probably projected her own problems into your relationship. You have to tell your wife that she should trust you. Maybe some therapy. Her best friend damaged a lot of something that wasn't her freaking problem. She is the devil on your wife's shoulder. Wow. Jessie should be crossed off the friend list immediately. Your wife is extremely unstable right now. The last thing she needs is someone putting lies into her head. Is there a way for the two of you to attend a couple of the therapy sessions together to get all of this discussed? It honestly doesn't seem like the 1x-week session is sufficient for how bad her mental health may be. Is she on medication? You can't walk on eggshells and you can't put your job at risk by refusing work trips, etc. Yep. Jessie is not a friend. I bet she is jealous of OP and his wife's marriage. OP is being supportive and set up help for his wife. Sounds like she's trying to break them up. Makes me wonder if her so cheated or if they are still together. Second story. Burner account. Went to a comedy show last night. She got multiple calls and texts during it and was obviously distracted. She explained that the new guy at work, who she trained, was doing an overnight out and having problems with something that their supervisor, my GF's BFF, wasn't able to handle. On the way out, it's crowded. I see over her shoulder that he texts her someone told my wife. I asked her about it and she said that the wife was jealous of a younger co-worker. We both went to the bathroom. The line for the men's room was much longer, but I exited first and made my way outside since the club was closing. Now a little backstory: we've been together for 9 years. I am not at all jealous and I've never had even the slightest reason to think she had been sneaking around or cheating on me through most of it. But we've been really rocky the last couple months. Some of it was COVID related. Some of it past stuff. Some of it money related. We bought a house together. In her name. We've been seeing a therapist and it's been productive, but our ex-life has been mostly non-existent. She came out 10 minutes later. I bring it back up on the walk to the car and eventually ask to see the texts and she says she deleted them because she doesn't keep work texts. Whoa. Now my spidey sense is going off. I ask her straight up if she's cheating on me and she denies it, but is also getting aggravated at me for being uncomfortable with all of this. I ask for this guy's number and call him on Bluetooth in the car. He doesn't pick up and I leave a message. We get home and with a little digging I find him on FB under an assumed name. Since they both work with the public, they don't use their last names, pretty common in that role. His account is mostly private and doesn't list his wife, but I managed to find her. I sent her a message that says, "You don't know me, but your husband sent a text to my girlfriend that says someone told my wife and I'd like to discuss it with you." Wife says maybe we can help each other figure out what's going on. Wife proceeds to send me a screenshot of an anonymous message from their co-worker saying that our spouses have slept together and have been seen out together. It goes on to say that my GF has slept with other co-workers and she, the messenger, would never trust her YGF around her man. The wife then asked to see the husband's texts, but deleted his as well. Okay. Wow. This came as a shock. I am not sure what to believe. On one hand, the overall message comes across as someone jealous at work being catty, since I have no worry that my GF has been sleeping around in the past. On the other hand, the someone told my wife thing is pretty damning. The husband co-worker sent me a text only after discovering I was speaking with his wife, asking me to stop. He said to clarify what I said in the message was that someone told my wife that we were messing, which we weren't. We aren't ducking around. Don't have a supervisor. My GF has been super helpful on that end. My GF is now mincing words and says that she never lied about her first answer as to what the issue that she needed to field calls was or how she responded to my first inquiry. She denies anything has happened and went only as far to say that they have a deep understanding of each other on an emotional level. That's it. She slept on the couch last night and we haven't spoken further. I can't concentrate on work at all, so I am interested in hearing any opinions on it. Third story. Read my wife's journal. Feeling sick and upset. Throwaway. First things first, I know I should never have opened up her journal in the first place. It is a massive breach of trust and I feel horrible about it. I am 31, have been married to my wife F30 for 6 years. Our marriage and relationship in general have had its ups and downs, but generally I would say that we are both very happy and have a great life together. Yesterday I was doing some cleaning and came across a standard looking notebook like the ones you use in school. And without knowing what it was, I opened it and quickly found that it was my wife's diary. I think she had been using a notebook instead of an actual looking diary to be more discreet. Anyway, as soon as I figured it was her personal journal, I should have shut it and moved on. But I didn't. My morbid curiosity got the best of me and I decided to take a gander. Big mistake. Most of what was in there was pretty tame. But there were 3 or 4 instances that made me feel downright sick to my stomach. And I don't know what to do or how to handle it. Basically, there were a few paragraphs from over the summer. So like 6 months ago, that describes a situation where a guy started DMing her on Instagram. And it made her feel young and shy and wanted. So she gave in and started chatting with this guy. I think pretty regularly. One thing that really stuck out went something like this: I have to be honest. Chatting with this guy was electric. It was so exciting. We exchanged lots of messages. Bad ones. WTF does bad ones mean? I could only assume it was inappropriate s-ing type messages. Nudes. Or a combination of both. Then she went on to say something like, "I had a moment where I wanted to leave me to hook up with this guy." Reading that made me feel sick to my stomach. She actually thought about leaving me for another guy, but couldn't bring herself to do it because she doesn't want to end up alone. That's just one part. There was another entry a few months ago, where she specifically says she got drunk one night after we had a fight, downloaded Tinder, matched with someone, and shared nudes to him within 30 minutes. Then proceeds to almost joke about it like, "Hope I don't get blackmailed." I am so disgusted and upset. There were a couple of other things in there that I could mention, but those 2 things specifically are really weighing on my mind. I kind of tested the waters in a roundabout way, asked her if she considered sending inappropriate messages to people outside of me cheating. And she, yes, absolutely. And that she would never and has never done that. Obviously she doesn't know. She says the exact opposite in her journal. So on top of it all, She is lying straight to my face. I just don't know what to do. Do I call her out on it and deal with the backlash over the fact that I looked at her journal? Do I let it go? Any advice is really appreciated. I am just devastated. She has been emotionally cheating on you. She's hiding her true feelings on paper instead of talking to you. A guy and then Tinder. She's taking gradual steps to turn this emotional cheating into the physical. She sent nudes to strangers. For God's sake. And doesn't seem very remorseful. Your marriage is in trouble. You may think everything was fine in the marriage, but it's not. Screw the snooping. She's your wife. You two should 100% transparency with open and honest communication. It's time to sit her down and have the most serious conversation you've ever had with her. You two probably need some marriage counseling at the very least. Dude, she cheated. And I don't know if it's because you're a guy or what, but the bias in the comments here is astounding. We all know if you were a girl going through your boyfriend's phone and he had some girl's nudes and was s-ing that they'd be telling you to leave him. Sure, you read her journal, but multiple times she sent nudes or romantic sexual messages to someone to the point where she considered leaving you. And she never told you. That's emotional cheating at the least, and real cheating if you count sending naked pictures. Don't let some of these guys convince you that you snooping excuses her behavior. Making a mistake does not invalidate the way she's broken your trust and lied to you. I'm especially bothered by some of these comments that imply she did nothing wrong just because she didn't actually go through with it. I'd be real angry if I found my boyfriend sending nudes to people whether he actually hooked up with them or not. Hit like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing to our channel.